A software as a service business is an engineering problem. You are building a closed-loop system where capital is pumped in, contained, and pressurized to generate compounding returns. Building this system requires massive upfront capital. You spend heavily in sales and marketing today just to acquire a single user, and that cost is only recouped in tiny monthly fractions over a period of years. Because of this delayed payback, raw top-of-funnel numbers like total website page views or free account signups tell you little about the business's actual survival. These metrics only measure the liquid splashing against the outside of the tank. A viable SaaS engine relies on a strict internal architecture, precise unit economics, predictable retention life cycles, and relentless capital efficiency. To know if a subscription model actually works, you have to ignore the traffic at the front door and measure the exact flow of capital inside the machine. The first constraint of this system is the customer acquisition cost, or CAC. This is the total input fuel required to pull one new paying user into your product. An accurate CAC calculation requires discipline. You divide your total sales and marketing spend by the number of new customers acquired. To be honest, you must include the internal salaries of your team and the software tools they use, not just advertising spend. Consider an AI product called Artificial Wit. A user sees an ad, clicks through, and signs up for the basic free tier. At this exact moment, you track the activation rate. This metric tracks the percentage of signups who complete a specific, value-proving action, a leading indicator of long-term stickiness visible months before churn data exists. This funnel maps sales spend filtering down to new customers, alongside a progress bar for user action. For Artificial Wit, the bar stops when a user makes 3 API connections. Reaching this milestone is the mathematical trigger proving activation, the user extracted utility. Paying to acquire a user is an unrecoverable expense. Triggering their activation is the first actual step toward building recurring revenue. Once users are activated and paying, the system generates monthly recurring revenue, or MRR. This predictable subscription revenue is the core heartbeat of the business. Multiplying MRR by 12 gives you annual recurring revenue, or ARR. While ARR is frequently used to frame the business for investors in annual planning, daily operational tracking requires the granularity of a monthly timeframe. Against this monthly revenue, you have to measure system leakage, known as churn. The most direct metric is logo churn, the percentage of individual customers who cancel their subscriptions in a given period. This dashboard maps the customer base. Hundreds of small dots represent self-serve accounts, 3 massive blocks for enterprise, plus a total revenue bar. When self-serve cancellations hit, small dots disappear. Logo churn spikes, but the revenue bar barely shrinks. This is revenue churn. A software business can mathematically survive high logo churn, provided its revenue churn is tightly insulated by stable, high-value enterprise accounts. When tracking that retention, relying on a single blended average is dangerous. Blended averages mix older, stable users with brand-new, volatile signups, which can mask product flaws in recent updates. This cohort analysis table groups customers chronologically by sign-up month. Isolating a single row reveals how that unique generation's retention degrades over time. Contrasting a newer row with the overall average shows if recent product changes improved retention, which a single blended average hides.
True business health cannot be diagnosed with a single snapshot. You have to isolate chronological generations to map the actual trajectory of the product. Controlling the volume and quality of these cohorts comes down to the initial pricing structure. Returning to our Artificial Wit example, the entry model dictates the top-of-funnel flow. A freemium model offers indefinite access with feature limits, driving broad adoption. In contrast, a free trial provides full access with a hard temporal cutoff, creating immediate buying urgency. Once inside, revenue scales internally based on the pricing mechanism. Collaboration tools typically use seat-based pricing, charging per user login. Compute-heavy AI products often use usage-based pricing, charging directly for API calls or processing time consumed. While CAC in turn focus on the entry and exit points of the system, we also need to measure internal growth via net revenue retention, or NRR. This graph charts a cohort's initial revenue. The bar shrinks at the bottom from churn, but expands at the top as remaining users purchase add-ons or upgrade. When this bar grows taller than its start, NRR is above 100%. Existing customers outpace churn. Generating this expansion revenue from an established base is significantly cheaper and more capital efficient than spending marketing dollars to acquire entirely new customers. When NRR exceeds 100%, the product has achieved organic internal growth, expanding its footprint within the existing user base without needing a new sign-up. The value generated over a customer's lifespan allows us to calculate LTV, customer lifetime value. This is the total expected gross margin profit you will extract from a user over their entire relationship with the company. We compare this value against our initial acquisition cost using the LTV to CAC ratio. The standard benchmark for a viable SaaS requires a ratio of at least 3 to 1, generating $3 of lifetime value for every dollar spent. The math here is absolute. If that ratio falls below 1 to 1, the company is actively losing money on every single new customer it pulls through the door. This timeline tracks cash flow. A large red block is the upfront CAC. It takes months of collecting small MRR fractions before cumulative revenue overtakes that deficit. This break-even point is the CAC payback period. Keeping this short protects your cash flow. A high lifetime value is useless if it takes 5 years to collect. If the time required to recoup acquisition costs outlasts the capital sitting in the bank, rapid growth will be fatal. As the business scales, individual unit economics consolidate into macro efficiency tests. The most rigorous of these is the burn multiple. The burn multiple measures exactly how much raw cash a company must burn to purchase a single dollar of net new recurring revenue. A lower multiple proves the engine is highly capital efficient. We also apply the Rule of 40, an aggregate health check that balances the company's growth rate percentage against its profit margin percentage. If the two numbers add up to 40 or more, the business maintains a sustainable equilibrium. But all of these metrics, CAC, churn, LTV, and NRR, ultimately feed into a final inescapable limit. That limit is runway. This is the precise number of months remaining at the current burn rate before the cash is exhausted. The SaaS machine is a powerful engine for compounding revenue, but it only functions if a founder can mathematically balance new customer acquisition, secure user retention, and drive internal expansion before the clock runs out on their cash.